Hi there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Jen. I am a psychic medium, and on my channel I like to share tips and tricks and sort of things that have helped me to connect with spirit, the energetic world around me, and I'm hoping that that'll be something that you can adopt into your life as well. I have found that being connected to non-physical energy and really understanding my vibration and taking responsibility for that has really created a more balanced, happy life for myself. So that's what I like to share here. If you're new and you haven't done yet, and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. You can click that subscribe button below and be sure to click the bell so that you can be notified when I upload new videos. Speaking of which, I haven't done that in a long time. So this is my first time back. For those of you that have been subscribed for a while, you'll know that it's been a hot minute since I've been here. So I'm back. I wanted to just sort of check in. It's been a busy year. I think it's probably been about a year since I've really consistently uploaded some videos. So there's been a lot going on, and now we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and I thought that what more perfect time when I've got some downtime, things have been a little bit slower, so I decided that I really wanted to check in. I actually hopped on my channel just the other day, and I realized that I have almost 2,000 subscribers. So really, first and foremost, I just wanted to come on here and say thank you so much for supporting me, for supporting this channel, and really showing me that this is maybe something that you're interested in. And I have a deep passion to share and to teach what I know about the non-physical world around us, communicating with loved ones on the other side, and like I said, just really tapping into our own personal vibrations and energy. So I'm excited that you guys are interested, and I'm excited that you're here. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. I really wanted to touch base with you guys to just sort of give you an idea of what I've been doing to really keep balanced throughout this time of uncertainty. I've talked about this before on some other videos. I do have a pretty worried mind. I have a tendency, some patterns to go towards an anxious place. Obviously, I am, no therapist. I'm not a doctor by any stretch. So I'm just going to offer you things that I've used that maybe have helped me quite a bit actually throughout this time, hoping that maybe it's something that you can try. And of course, this isn't replacing any kind of medical advice or advice from a professional therapist, but little tips and tricks that I've done throughout this time while we're all just here together and really trying to figure out what the next step is and what life's going to look like. What's the new normal after the COVID-19 pandemic is over. So if you have an anxious mind, if you're like me and you tend towards that, the busy mind or the worried space, keep watching. I think that this might be something that is helpful for you.
Welcome to Spirit Speaks with psychic medium Jennifer Hall.
Okay, so in true format to most of my other videos, I like teaching in a bit of like an organized way. So I'm just going to go through 3 specific things that I've done or adopted into my life over the last couple of months that have really been super helpful for helping me to kind of gain a little bit more control over my vibration and my thoughts, which then, if I don't have control over those things, I kind of tend towards this downward spiral of stress, really. And, not being able to sleep that well, not really taking care of my body the way that I would want to, and all that kind of stuff that I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to. So the very first thing that I started doing, which was kind of coincidental, I was reading this book right before everything started shutting down in my area. And in this book, there was a lot of journal prompting. So coming into this, I was starting this journaling process, and I continued that throughout the whole entire thing, and it has completely been a game changer for me. So I've talked about journaling before on my channel. I've talked about it a lot at workshops, and I recommend it to a lot of my clients because it can be a very powerful tool in really kind of bringing awareness to where your thoughts are at, where your mind is at, and really that where the connection is with you and your inner being and you and your soul. And so it just so happened coincidentally that this was something that I was kind of embarking on anyway because of the book that I was reading. It had journal prompts within it. So I have this journal that I've been really writing in ever since the beginning of all of this, and it has brought so much to the forefront, so much attention to really kind of the triggers of where my mind gets really out of control. But not only that, I've gotten to really connect with my inner being, my soul. I've asked questions to my inner being, to my soul, that I really hadn't been asking her in a long time, some if ever. So I highly encourage to pick up that journal. I know that it can kind of sound sort of monotonous. It's not the first time that you've heard someone say, you should journal, it helps. Maybe it's a simple gratitude journal. Some nights I didn't want to write a whole bunch and I didn't really want to do a journal prompt. So I really just kind of grabbed my book and I started writing out all the things that I was grateful for, all the kind of the little silver linings within all of this. Yes, we were homeschooling our kids and it's very difficult some days, but also it's kind of nice. And, so really focusing on the things that in a tough situation that are really quite nice as well. So the journaling, I think, really changed a lot for me. As I said, it really connected me with my soul and really allowed me to explore what I guess she wants. We've kind of lived these dual lives of connecting with spirit and then being here, and then connecting with spirit and then being here, and amalgamating those two together and really listening to what your soul is saying can be super powerful. And really, when we're connected to that space, there is no anxiety. She does not, he does not, whoever your inner being is, they don't feel anxious. They don't feel stressed. And so the more that you can tap into them, to that inner soul, that inner being, to source, to just in general, your personal thoughts and your awareness around all of that, it can be really a powerful tool to help you kind of balance and navigate through something so unprecedented like what we're going through right now with this global pandemic. So that would be, I guess, the number one thing that I've changed in my life really in the last couple months is journaling, and it has been incredible for me. So maybe something that you'd like to try. The second thing that I've done, and when I was kind of thinking about this before making this video, I was like, this is super counterintuitive to me because normally I am very anti-news, but I have found that staying educated and allowing myself the opportunity and the time to really educate myself from credible sources. Not a huge fan of the opinion pieces out there, the ones that are guessing at what's going to happen next and what's happening and all that kind of stuff. But the facts, I think that it's really important. As much as my energy doesn't love hearing all of what's happening around the world, it is so important right now to not remain ignorant and to know, just even if it's just a little check-in every day, to know what the updates are, because everything is changing so quickly and everywhere is so different with what what the restrictions are and all that kind of stuff. So my point is that finding a perfect balance between I guess, or with what you're consuming is going to be really important right now and moving forward, because this is going to go on for probably some time and we're not going to want to be inundated and overloaded, obviously, with information from news sources. But at the same time, it's very important for, especially if you're like me and you have a very kind of worrisome mind or a busy mind, or I'm very uncomfortable with not knowing what to expect or not knowing what's coming next. And so that's helped me a lot, is to really find the perfect balance for me with what is the right amount of information I can consume. So at first it was a whole lot and it was not the right amount at all. I was glued to my phone, I was glued to the TV, much like probably a lot of you guys. And then I went from that to the exact opposite, and I was just like, you know what, I can't even do this anymore. I feel so stressed. I don't like the way I feel when I'm inundated with all this information, when I'm consuming too much. So I went to the complete opposite spectrum and I really shut myself out. It wasn't for very long, but then I kind of became a lot more anxious again and stressed because I was like, I didn't know anything. So it's taken me some time, and maybe it will be more much easier for you. Maybe you already know that you're not as affected by the media as I might be. But being an empath, I know that it's sometimes very hard to find that balance. And sometimes it's the conversations with your peers, with your friends, with your family members. Consuming information doesn't always come from just the media. It comes from conversations and books and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I've really been able to navigate through and find the perfect consumption balance. So really finding the time and the space to set aside every day a little bit of time to educate myself, and then I move forward with my day and I do something that's more grounding, something energetic, something that involves movement. So that kind of just sort of coming off of that little message, I guess to complement that, I wanted to talk about something that I've really tried to do, which is when I am consuming a lot, and I mean consuming obviously information, and again, that could come from so many different sources. It's not always watching the news, but that's probably the number one big one. I think it's so important to not only find what your perfect balance of consumption is, but also how are you going to offset that if you've consumed too much, or if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with what you've been consuming and the information that you've heard that particular day. What do you do about that? So for me, I've really realized that grounding myself outside is like the thing that really brings me back to the moment and to myself the quickest, but also anything creative. So if you understand it as energy coming in and really kind of creating a whole lot of energy flow within your body, within your mind, within your brain, you're really kind of consuming a lot. What's the best way for you to release some of that energy? So it's really kind of that balance of consuming and then releasing. And for me, releasing ends up being, like I said, like being outside, being in nature, or doing something creative. Sometimes creative movement, like working out or doing some yoga or some stretching. But a lot of the time it's like doing something maybe crafty or getting crafty with my kids. And if you're not a crafty person, or if you don't have stuff at home that you can do like that, go for a walk or do something, maybe journal in your journal, something that releases that energy. So just sort of kind of going along with that little tip of limiting your consumption or finding that perfect consumption amount is really to offset that also with some creative output, or just making sure that you're releasing some of that energy afterwards. And then the last thing that I want to talk about that's really been a game changer for me as well, with dealing with kind of the stress of everything and then the stress of not knowing, the uncertainty of it all, is meditation. And surprise, surprise. But I want you to know that, like, super relatable here, because I'm really lucky that my job happens to incorporate meditation within it. So, I've never really had to think too hard about setting aside time to meditate. And, I preach it, I encourage meditation. I know that Spirit encourages meditation all the time. But until now, I've never really realized how difficult it is to create a consistent meditation practice. So I wanted to share with you, because I have been working, I have seen clients, I've been doing a lot of remote calls, like so Zoom calls and telephone calls, but the amount of clients that I've seen has really gone down because a lot of people like to come to my home for one-on-one sessions. So typically I'm super busy, I'm working every single day practically, so I have a meditation practice that just sort of by default, I'm meditating a couple of times a day, and it's fantastic. But right now, when I go like 3 or 4 days in between clients, I've realized that I get totally off balance when I'm not connecting to Spirit, when I'm not connecting to my inner being. And yes, journaling has been fantastic for that, but meditation is a very different process. It's really, your eyes are closed. You're not thinking about what you're writing and really coming up with something and analyzing your thoughts. It's really kind of non-analytical, and you're really just sitting there and observing. So yes, there's awareness, I guess, to a certain extent, but it's different. And I've really realized that finding the time to do that, or I guess creating the time to do that, it's not even so much finding it, but just making sure that I'm setting aside time, it's been a challenge for me. So if you're out there and you're having a hard time creating a meditation practice, even though you know that you want to, you know that you should, you know that it would feel good, you've done it before, I totally hear you. So what I've done is I've really just tried to be easy on myself. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm a little bit of someone like an all or nothing person. So I've really just kind of tried to find a good balance between, you know, I guess just letting myself off the hook if I miss a day or two or three. But what's really cool about it is that I can now palpably feel totally off balance when I'm not meditating, when I'm not checking in with spirit or my inner being. So it's been kind of a neat thing, and I'll just kind of catch myself and say, oh, I think it's time that I go to my meditation space and I do a little bit of meditation, leave my family, they're okay for 15-20 minutes. I can kind of retreat and give myself a little bit of time to do that. So I totally hear you. It's not an easy thing, but it has really brought me back on those days where, you know, I haven't worked for a little bit of time, so I haven't checked in, and I've been consuming maybe too much, and things are overwhelming, or I just kind of feel blah. Meditation has been a real lifesaver for me. So what my meditations look like, they're very different than when I'm connecting through meditation for a client. It's different when I'm working. So meditating for myself is really, it's just so quiet. I really just essentially close my eyes for a little bit of time, and I focus usually on something. I usually meditate in my basement, and it's really quite cold down here, so I have a little space heater. So for me, I focus on that space heater, the sound of it, take some nice deep breaths. Breathing really centers me, and I really just kind of sit, and I have no expectations. And I find that being able to let go of the expectations and being able to sort of release that perfectionism. If I miss a day, so what? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be that I meditate for 40 minutes all the time. Sometimes I'll pop on a guided meditation from YouTube or something that I find that I really resonate with, and I'll listen to that if I don't really feel like I'm connecting on my own, or if my mind is too busy. So those kind of three things have been game changers for me as far as taking care of my mental health has come. Journaling and being very mindful and aware of the consumption, and really balancing my consumption of information out with releasing that energy afterwards somehow in a creative way. And then of course meditation. So if any of those things really resonate with you, I encourage you to try them if you're feeling a little bit off some days, or even if you're just kind of curious and you want to see how they might benefit your life or change your life a little bit. I'd be happy for you to try them. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure to tap in and check in with you guys again, and you can definitely expect to hear from me and see more of me in the coming days in the future, and I'm excited to be back. So love you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.